Welcome to the program. I'm Rochelle Carey. It's a deal that the Sri Lankan government hopes will pay off some of its multi-billion-dollar debts to China. A controversial agreement has been signed to lease the port of Hambantota to a Chinese state-owned company. Sri Lanka has also launched a special industrial zone near the port to attract Chinese investment, sparking protests. Beijing helped foot the bill for construction of the redeveloped port in southern Sri Lanka. So Chinese investors are paying $1.2 billion for an 80% stake in Hambantota. The port will be leased to a Chinese state-controlled company for 99 years. The port's development is seen as a boost to Sri Lanka's economy and also infrastructure, but there are concerns that it's not financially viable. Opponents argue that the deal will give China too much control. Manel Fernandez has more from Hambantota.
The handover of the Hambantota port here in the southernmost part of Sri Lanka to the Chinese over a 99-year lease is whipping up a lot of sentiment as we see today the inauguration of the Sri Lanka-China Logistics and Development Zone within the Sri Lankan government's development project here in the south. Now, lots of people opposed to the handover of this port to China. There were angry demonstrations, huge amount of tension just outside the venue. We had thousands of people essentially protesting, taking on law enforcement authorities, the riot squads. We had tear gas, we had water cannons, all trying to quell the protesters who were quite an unruly lot, trying to make their opposition to this handover of the Hambantota port apparent to people who came here. Now, the Prime Minister and the Chinese ambassador, who both addressed the gathering here, spoke in glowing terms of the development that is forecast for this region over the next few years. The Chinese ambassador going on to say that up to $5 billion in investment would be plowed into this area overall. The Prime Minister too talking about tens of thousands of jobs being generated as this area is uplifted and essentially catches up with development. However, for most people locally, there's a lot of suspicion. Obviously, the opposition, the government of the former president, Mahinda Rajapaksa, very much this is his constituency, has been talking about fears about the handover, saying that this is not the way he would have done it himself. But he is very much the person who brought in the Chinese, handed over the port project to the Chinese, and essentially gave them a foothold, a very involved foothold in this country.
The Chinese investment is seen as part of an ambitious plan to create a modern-day maritime version of the Silk Road from the oil-rich Middle East to Europe. Hambantota is strategically located in the Indian Ocean on one of the world's busiest shipping lanes. The Chinese government already has interests in ports across Asia to Pakistan and Africa and stretching on to Europe. Sri Lanka helps connect them all. It's what's known as China's string of pearls strategy.